reminds me of iRobot.
What's that?
iRobot.
Yeah, I will. So on this sort of Illinois-ish weather here that we have, we're going to commence our service with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. I'm going to ask Heidi and Maggie if you'd like to come forward and light the Shabbat candles this evening.
Tell me, I think I picked last time.
I should rather we have you, me, and Gary in this.
We're all from Illinois.
How about that?
Oh, really?
But we're gonna take the weather back with us.
Please do, please.
Please.
It's wreaking havoc over here.
Sure.
Boy.
I would like to take a push. I got it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Page 120. And we continue now with the Nefesh on page 128. Page 128. beautiful Lachadodi, come my beloved, that is the children of Israel, come to welcome and to greet your bride, the Shabbat. Page 138, first two verses, and then on page 139 we'll rise and chant the last verses facing the entranceway. It's a symbol of our welcoming in the spirit of Shabbat. You may be seated. Let us turn now to page 145. We do this as a prelude to the Chatzikadosh of the Bar. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer. Together. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer. A mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. And we continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 144, followed by the Baruch Hu on page 146, at which time we will rise.
Vit gadol, vit gadash, meraba, viam hot vrachute, viam hikmachute, bechai echaro yom echon, uvkai eteko bet Yisrael, bagala, bagala, uvisman kari, Yesh me rabba mi vara, li olam olam mi almaya, yitbarak vishtabak, vitbaar vitronam vitnasei, vitadar vitalei, vitalal, shemei de kodisham, Leilon kobechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran li'ala v'meru. Amen.
You may be seated. And let us turn now to page 150, the Ahavat Olam, with eternal love. Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta, you have loved the house of Israel, your people. Torah umitzvot, Torah and commandments. Chukim, ordinances or laws that are purely done on the basis of faith. Mishpatim, justice. Utanu li marata, you have taught us. Al-Kain, therefore, Adonai Eloheinu, the Lord our God, B'shochbenu u'v'kumenu, when we lie down and when we rise up. Nasiach bichu kacha, we will have conversation in our hearts. V'nismach b'divrei Toratcha, and we will rejoice in the words of your Torah. U'v'mitzvotacha le'olam va'ad, and in your commandments forever. Ki hem chayenu v'orech yamenu, for they are our life and they are the length of our days. Uvahem nehege yomam balayla, and on them we will delight day in and day out. V'avatcha, and v'ahavatcha, with your love. Al tasir mimenu le'olamim, never turn away from us. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, O God, who loves his people Israel. Please rise for the Shema, page 152.
Adonai
page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל ידיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום בלבבך, ושיננתם בבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובגומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וטפתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אליהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And we continue now with the Hashkivenu on page 160. God calls us to lie down in peace and awaken us to life on the morrow. Page 160, the Hashkivenu. And let us join in prayer, the middle of page 161. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over all Jerusalem. We continue with the Vishamru, page 162. The children of Israel shall observe, shall guard, shall protect the Shabbat.
Israel, et
the tefillah, the prayer. We begin on page 164, and we ask God before whom we stand for God to open up our lips so that we may tell of your praise. Page 164.
Adonai, Sefer Tiftak, Ufia, Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your grace. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Nora, Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, V'Kamei Hakol, V'Zocher Hasiatot v'Imahot, V'Mevii Keulah Livnei B'neihem, Le'man Shemo B'Yahweh. Melozeh u'Moshiach u'Mayim, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarai. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Michayei hakol atah, Rav le'Hoshia. El Chaim Tekesed, Michayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somef noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umachayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Mikamocha al kekurot, Umidam elach, Melech menit umechayeh, Umasneach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atal yachayot haro, Baruch atah Adonai, Mikayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'kol yom yehallelujah Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Hayel HaKadosh.
And we continue silently. You may either be seated, as is your tradition, or stand. We continue either in the prayer book from page 172 to page 180, or in your own silent meditations and your communion with God. We continue now with the Shalom Rav, page 178. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
First, before I speak on the Parsha, I'm going to throw it open to all of you. If you have any questions or comments on the week or comments on the Parsha, which is Mishpatim, which deals with laws, and also deals with a very interesting thing that most of us tend to forget, is that Moses actually goes up, is called by God to go up after the giving of the Ten Commandments, and then is told by God that God will teach Moses what all of these things mean. That occurs in chapter 24. But before we do that, and if we take more time for this, then I'll just dispense with my talk. First, I'm going to throw it open to you. Do you have any comments or questions that you'd like to discuss? Yes,
Rabbi, Mishpatim was my Torah portion when I did my bar mitzvah. And
okay.
the rabbi told me that he said, this means you will become a lawyer when you grow up.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right. This has not only not only has very specific laws relating to property, relating to civil law, but also within that framework talks about justice and righteousness, not favoring the rich and not favoring the poor if the matter comes before. Also, you shouldn't give an evil report or follow after the multitude to do evil. So within all of these specific laws, we have these principles, as it were, that undergird the administration of justice. In other words, we have to understand specific laws in light of justice, in light of fairness. It's not, no matter how much we will develop in terms of artificial intelligence and chatbots and being able to engage in conversation, there's no substitute, at least I believe this, there's no substitute. With all the mistakes that we may make, there's no substitute for the human application of law. Yeah. Do you remember your talk, your sermon?
My speech?
Yeah, your speech.
I remember that I told this story about the, it's a little vague for me now, but there was a story about a traffic signal, and that there was a terrible accident, and they didn't put the traffic signal up until after the accident. And that sometimes we create our laws too late. Yeah, and that was the gist of my.
Yeah, that's very true. We often create laws after the disaster has occurred and not, that's, there's a movie that comes to mind, I like movies, the film, Cinema Paradiso, where the projectionist goes blind and then they develop a new technology. And he went blind because of a terrible fire that happened in the theater. I see some heads nodding. If you ever want to see that movie, I suggest you bring a box of Kleenex, and it's just have a full box there handy. It's very beautiful, very lyrical a film. But anyway, it's about between a young boy in a small town in Italy, and he befriends a projectionist, and there's a terrible fire, and the little boy saves his life, but he's blind. But then they develop a technology, and he says the same thing, that progress comes too late. Very true. Well, Mazal Tov on this the anniversary of your bar mitzvah. Other thoughts or other reflections?
Is this the portion that has the beginning of kashrut, where it says that you should not boil kid in its mother's milk?
Oh, that's a good.
I think it is, because I was reading it.
Oh, well, then we must.
I was just trying to be kind of like a shield, like hand it to you and do a good job, sorry.
Yeah, so.
But that's all it said on it, and I find it very interesting what we have done to somewhat complicate that one verse. 2 refrigerators, 2 ovens, 2,
Well, I mean, if you want you could not pick a more controversial subject in Judaism. Of all the subjects to pick, kashrut related to food is probably one of the most complicated and controversial things that I've ever encountered in my rabbinate, especially when I was at Dartmouth. I mean, it was just really, it wasn't kosher enough, it was too kosher, we didn't recognize the hechsher. It was just really, we brought kosher dining to Dartmouth, and we only had about 500 Jews, none of whom, not a single one, had kept strictly kosher. I mean, they went at the restaurants and so on. And we had an Orthodox hechsher, a certification, and so forth. And students began to come from more traditional backgrounds, but not Orthodox, by the way, not Shabbat observant. And they said that the hechsher wasn't good enough, and they raised all kinds of difficulties, and I'll say it that way, all kinds of difficulties with administration and involved, and
the lines were long, you were feeding.
Well, that was the interesting thing, because we established the kashrut, the kosher dining, on the principle that it had to taste good, because it wasn't there weren't enough Jews to support it. I mean, the cost of that, so there's an economic consideration, and so it had to be good, it had to be economical. And we sustained it, and then they wanted to make it more kosher, and it would have been more expensive. They appointed a committee, and all this kind of stuff. But kashrut, I mean, it's a very interesting subject, because the only thing in the Torah that deals with the mixing of milk and meat is that specific
verse.
Right, that one verse. But that leads us into a discussion. Well, how did that occur? And I'm studying a text with the Drummond's, and we're studying the Hakdama, the introduction to Maimonides' great work, the Mishnah Torah. And in the Mishnah Torah, he cites a different verse from Mishpatim, where God calls Moses up in order to teach him the mitzvah, to give him the tables of the testimony, that is the 10 Commandments, which have already been, they haven't actually been given, because if you read Yitro, all that happens is Moses goes up on the mountain, comes down and says, these are the words that God spoke. And then we all rise, I'm the Lord thy God who brought thee out of the land of Egypt. But there's nothing in Yitro that says he brought down the tablets. That occurs actually in this chapter, and it occurs also it also occurs in chapter 35. And so there's three words that that are found in the text. One is mitzvah, another one is Torah, and the other one is the Horatam, to enlighten them. So God is going to teach Moses that not only the written law, but from that Maimonides discerns, because there's an extra word mitzvah, and it's in the singular, that is a symbol or a reference to an oral law. And the oral law comes to explain, as it were, the written law. And that's where you get all of the kashrut, all of that. But there's also a psychological component over generations and generations of time that I think kashrut in many ways has, even though it's, it's not logical, and there's no real rational basis for kashrut. I know people say, well, back during the Middle Ages, could get trichinosis and so forth, and this way, in terms of food purity, Jews were not as susceptible to certain types of diseases and so forth, because everything had to be separated and so forth. But that's after the fact. That's not stated as part of kashrut. There's no rationale that's given. In other words, there's certain commandments like kashrut that are strictly done out of pure faith, for no other reason than to talk about, than to establish the brit, the covenant between the special covenant between God and the Israelites. So that's what in kashrut has really built Jewish identity. And if you think about it, it's even true in Reform Judaism, where there's a long tradition of not focusing on those things. But on Pesach is a form of kashrut. You get rid of leaven, you don't eat bread, you restrict your food diet, and we do that here. And it's a statement of our identity. It's a statement of our commitment that we have not a better relationship. I want to be very clear. We don't have a better relationship with God than anyone else, but we have a special relationship in that these are things that we do, that God tells us, and we do them out of the pureness of faith. And yet at the same time in Mishpatim, we not only have that one verse from which separate dishes and separate sinks, and you can't buy certain meat. Meat has to be slaughtered in a certain way. You can't eat milk with meat or dairy with meat. It's a whole, literally speaking, it's a whole Talmud. I mean, there's a whole Talmud, entire tractate that deals with kashrut. And so, some people will say that we are people of the law, and there's a lot to be said for that. But also, we are the people who study the law and study it in a way that tries to adapt it to the times and circumstances in which we live. It's not something that's blind, even among the most orthodox. And the best example really is abortion. The Orthodox for a long time permitted abortion for things that were more than the woman being in hard travail. I'm not talking about Reform Jews. I'm not talking about Reform rabbis. I'm not talking about conservative rabbis. I'm talking about very Orthodox rabbis, because there's a mission that says you can't, that if the mother is in hard travail and the head is not emerged and they're struggling, the mother's life takes precedence over the fetus's life. And therefore, you preserve her life at the expense of the fetus, as long as the head hasn't emerged. And that was understood to mean, not just mean physical threat, which is probably what the original intent was. But over time, by Orthodox rabbis, it was understood to mean also psychological threat. How so? Some of you may recall the thalidomide cases, where during pregnancy a woman was given thalidomide. If the mother felt that she could not bear that burden of having a child that would be born with deformities, born with severe neurological deficits, severe, I'm not talking about, ADD or ADHD or even autism, I'm talking about really severe, then, and the mother felt that she could not do that would just cause her to collapse, abortion by some rabbis would be permitted. So we see once again, there's not a literalness in the law, but there's an understanding of circumstances of equity, that the law has to have a heart as well. And there has to be compassion, there has to be empathy as we apply these laws. And particularly when there's conflict of laws. For example, there's a mitzvah of being fruitful and multiplying, having children. That's a mitzvah, it's a commandment. And yet we have a commandment that deals with the painful subject of abortion. And it's not, in Judaism, very often, not black and white. Most instances in the application of law, particularly Jewish law, is not a black and white matter. Can't say anything more about that, except one last thing, and then we'll conclude our service, is that this oral tradition has meant great changes and great flexibility in the application of Jewish law. And the real mitzvah that undergirds justice, that undergirds these laws, is the study of law. That is the study of Torah. That's why we have the Torah study class, to really understand what it is that God is asking us to do. And not just read it literally, and not just read it as a bunch of commandments, but rather, what is it that we can learn from this, not only apply it in our own hearts, but apply it to society. And in our world, there's a great need for that. A great need for justice, mercy, compassion, and working with those who are less fortunate. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
All right. We're going to continue now with the meditation. You know what's up? And we continue now with the prayer for healing, the Misha Berach prayer, page 371.
Be
pray for the healing of Rhoda Bennett, Harold H. Fink, Roy Weisberg, David Cherniak, Phyllis Feibelman, Dr. John Johnson, Mark and Hetty Blinderman, Elise Zeman, Jennifer and Amy Sundberg, Pam Fisher, Alice Glass, Cheryl Wallace, Elizabeth Kaiser, Sheila Ross, Sandy Holberg, Alan Lewis, Emily Fink, Rick Finn, Henry Hoven, Mike Ware, Michael Miller, Larry Miller, and I want to inform everyone that Larry is now out of the hospital and he is in rehab and doing very, very well. So I saw him, we said not only Misha Berach, but we said a Shachiana for him, that he's really on the road to recovery, and we're all just very, very grateful for that. Is there anyone that people would like to call, who are in need of a Misha Berach, who anyone wishes to add to our list?
Cindy Smith.
Thank you.
McDonald.
Please rise for the adoration, the Aleinu, page 586. You may be seated. Tonight we observe the yahrzeits of Betty Deemer, Hyman Burkauer, Dorothy Nathan Goldman, Milton F. Rubel Jr., Hyman Yassam, Joe Stern, Theodore Baer, Frank Menaker, or Buddy Menaker, and Claire Sternberg. Is there anyone observing a yard site who they wish to remember at this time? In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links generations one to another, let us rise and join in the recitation of the Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah bi'alma tivrach chilutei bi'amlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam u'le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudshah b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God, who establishes peace unto the heavens, grant peace and comfort in the hearts of all who mourn, and let us say, amen. We're going to continue now with the Kiddush, and Motzi, would you like me to do it?
Yeah, I'd love for you to.
Yeah, I'm trying to rest your joy.
Thank y'all for being patient with me.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah, you can do it.
No, please, Rabbi, go ahead.
I'm trying to save you.
He'll do it acapella.
Why don't we all I'm not skilled that way. Page 100, I think it's 123. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho b'yava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'yotanu ki dashta mikamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava uv'ratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. You may be seated. We'll have the challah after. A few announcements. Let's see. First, we want to welcome Mel and Odette Sternberg, Harold and Emily Fink, Shirley Boyd, Steve Malfelter, Karen and Hemath Singh, Priscilla Gold-Darby, Harvey and Sandra Gandler, and Ann Zellniker, who joined us vis-a-vis Zoom. I've been asked to have people introduce themselves so that the people on the Zoom can know who's here, rather than have me call out each person's name. I'll have each of you introduce yourselves. Let's start with,
Okay, I'm Liliana. My name is Liliana Perelman. I live here in the States for 5 years now. And I didn't find a synagogue where to go. It's not that I go that often, but there are times in your life that you need to go to a place. And here I am.
we are thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Very thrilled. Where are you from originally?
Argentina.
Argentina. Very welcome.
Thank you so much. You can elaborate a little bit.
That's okay. Yeah.
My name is Gary Geisler. I'm a new member of the synagogue and coming here from Decatur, Illinois. I'm here with my friend Kathy Scott, who is visiting from Decatur, Illinois.
It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And we're just delighted, Gary, that you've joined our community, and we look forward to years and years of your participation.
Thank you. I do as well.
Nate Ginsburg.
Iris Ginsburg.
Peyton Cox.
Maggie Flores. Heidi Slowinski.
Right. So the people who are with us virtually, now we're all together, we've all introduced ourselves. Announcements on February, of course, there is no Sunday school this Sunday, right? There's no Sunday school. And then we will have Torah study on Wednesday at 5:30. There will be a very brief board meeting on Monday. And let's see what else.
26th.
26.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the 26th, there's just, we really need, if you can, to mark your calendars. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there will be a social action forum in which 5 or 6 of some of the best organizations that really do tikkun olam in our community will be here to make presentations, to describe the work that they do, and encourage us to volunteer to get connected with those organizations that will interest you. Even if you decide, well, I don't have the time, or it's difficult for me, it just to have them describe what they do and what they contribute to the community, these nonprofit organizations. It's really enlightening. I went to one of the organizational meetings for about a half hour and just was just amazed at the work that they do, and it makes you almost want to get up and just sign up and how can we help? So that's on February 26th. That's organized by our Social Justice or Social Action Committee, and that will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There'll be refreshments and so forth. The presentations that I heard were really spellbinding. And on February 27th, the Interfaith Bible Study will be meeting here. In fact, if you haven't been to them, we get together with the Government Street Presbyterian Church members, as well as members from the First Baptist Church, and we will take a selection from our Bible, and often we'll take a selection from the New Testament, and engage in dialogue, engage in conversation, to really learn how each of us understand and interpret and apply our sacred texts. And we really developed that. At least for me, it's been a tremendously rewarding experience, just in terms of how other faith traditions understand their sacred texts. And I'm from the feedback that we've gotten, they feel the same way. So if you haven't been to that, I really encourage you to come. The next one will be here, and that's February 27th, and that will be at 5:30 in the afternoon.
Is that a Thursday?
No, that's a Monday. Monday.
Just to plant the seed too, Rabbi.
Please.
April 6th is our Shabbat, Passover Seder.
Yes, please, yeah, absolutely. If you, last year, we were just beginning to come out of COVID, and it was, for me personally, one of the best Seders that I've been to. It was wonderful to see so many people. We had close to 70, I believe.
Yeah.
Iris was one of the primary organizers behind it, and it was just really a very wonderful community building experience. I urge you to sign up. There was, we can seat about 90 at the most, 90 or 100 from what I heard. But you really want to begin to think about making reservations. And I think that's about all we have. What's our closing song? I know we joked a little bit.
We can do it if you'd like to.
Absolutely. Since this is the Mardi Gras season, it's appropriate to find some type of song to go with Adonalam,
Because it fits so well with
and
everything.
our cantorial
Rabbi's
soloist who is
friend
in charge. I asked, well, what's a Mardi Gras song that we could adapt Adonalam to? And she brilliantly said, "When the saints go marching in." Now, I know that that's a little, but we've always been a people that have adapted to the environment that we've been in. So we're going to do Adonalam tonight. You're going to.
So we'll have Chris play the melody for us once. And if you can find the text to Adonalam on page 625.
Shabbat